And this right here, even with all of that, this is why I say this is one of the most confusing seasons in all of Boise State football. What is up, everybody? It is Jake with Master Football back at it again. Happy Tuesday. Thank you so much for being here. If you want to be up to date on everything college football, pro football, Madden, EA college football, NFL draft, anything related to American football, hit that red subscribe button. You will not be disappointed. Also the like button too, and follow on Twitter/X. That fan's growing. Without further ado, let's get into the video. All right, guys, I have the very rare perspective here that both my professional team and my college team have the exact same record and very similar situations that they're both going through at this point. Obviously, the Raiders, for those of you who don't know what the Raiders, Josh McDaniel was fired. Antonio Pierce comes in as the head coach. They're currently 2-0 on a little bit of a heater here, liking what they're doing. All of a sudden moving from 3-5 out of the playoff picture to kind of still back in it a little bit. Personally, I still want us to be able to draft a quarterback this next year because there's a lot of really good quarterbacks. But we're not talking about the Raiders. We're also going to talk about my alma mater and one of the most confusing teams in college football, the Boise State Broncos. You got them here and here, here and here. Boise State, my alma mater. Been going to games. I have season tickets for the last 10 years in the South End Zone. I absolutely love it. But this year has been a very trying year. As you all know, Boise State has a very proud tradition. For certain teams, 5-5 is a good record. However, for other teams, 5-5 is, let's just say, not acceptable. As a matter of fact, so much so that 5-5, even after a win, is still unacceptable. This win right here. So going up against the New Mexico Lobos, knocking them out of bowl contention. Boise State is now 5-5, 4-2 in the conference, and just in a spot where unfortunately, starting quarterback here, Maddox Madsen, he got injured in that game, and then Taylor Green, who was the starter early this year. They've been going back and forth with this weird two-quarterback system. They've been putting up a lot of points, but the Boise State Broncos leave with a quarterback injury, and Maddox Madsen is gone, but they win 42-14. And I alluded to it earlier here, that the fact that Boise State, very proud tradition, even if you are 5-5 and you win a game, you're over 500, or you're at 500, you don't have a losing record, but if it's time to move on, it's time to move on, and you saw this move just the other day. So one of those early moving teams in terms of moving on from their head coach, Boise State has decided to fire head football coach Andy Avalos after a 22-14 record. This is after a win, after a 4-touchdown win at home. Still, at this point, not good enough, decided to move on. Boise State fired football coach Andy Avalos on Sunday with a record of 5-5 in the danger of the program's first losing season since 1997. I repeat that, the first losing season in almost 26 years. That is the situation we're at, and that's why we ultimately decided to move on from Andy Avalos. Quote from Jeremiah Dicki, he says, "I am grateful for the passion, effort, and dedication Andy has given our community and his alma mater while serving as head coach. Andy will always be a Bronco, and we wish him and his family all the best in their next steps." Dicki named interim defensive coordinator and longtime Boise State coach Spencer Danielson as interim head coach. Avalos went 22-14 in his 3 seasons at Boise State, including a 10-4 year last season that resulted in him being the 2022 Mountain West Coach of the Year. At no point during Avalos' 2+ seasons, Boise State was ranked in the AP poll. Boise State's 19-year streak of being ranked ended during their first season in 2021. So you see that situation there. Boise State is a very proud tradition. The first time they hadn't been ranked since in 19 years, ended in his first year as head coach. It's just one of those things where, again, the expectations are different here, and 5-5 might be acceptable at some schools, but it's not at Boise State. Now, I know what you're saying. Okay, 5-5, weird situation there. They just won a game, but they decided to move on from the head coach. It's fine. Apparently, there's been a lot, and I mean a lot, of smoke behind the fire. That is that behind the scenes at Boise State football, it is drama city, culminating in a Biletnikoff Award finalist, or at least a semi-finalist, left the team before the season was done. So right here, and this happened recently, breaking top receiver Eric McAllister is transferring from Boise State. This was the first kind of like, what the heck's going on there? He left. It's a down year. He decided to go. Okay, that's the situation there. Okay, we see what's going on there. He's like, he probably got a good NIL offer. He probably got, offer to go back home, something like that, whatever it is. But it's like, you could understand they were 5-4 at this, or they were 4-5 at this point, losing record in November. He decides to leave, saves himself so he can enter the transfer portal, get himself some money. That's probably what's going on here. But then you saw another situation. So this one here also raised some eyebrows here. It says some news, and again, think about this. November 11th, when they won that game, 8:04 p.m. So before the game, Boise State has let go of Director of Football for External Relations, Lou Major, according to sources. So you're starting to think, okay, receiver leaves, Director of Football for External Relations leaves. What the hell's going on here? And then this one was the first time that my eyes really perked up here. It says here, Jay Tuss, KTV sports guy, he says, it was reported yesterday that Lou Major, the Director of External Relations for Boise State football program, was let go this week. According to sources, Major is back with the football program, and that has to send all of your something is going on here behind the scenes that absolutely has to send those alarm bells off. There's got to be some reason why this is happening, because he leaves, he comes back after Avalos leaves, and what's going on there? So the report, and again, Andy, he's put his heart and soul into this team. However, a lot of people online were saying that there's something going on, there's something going on. It culminates in this. BJ Rains, one of the insiders for Boise State, he said there was going to be a massive transfer exodus if Avalos was retained. So you think about that. Top receiver leaves, Director of Football Operations leaves, Andy gets fired, Director of Football Operations comes back, and you're like, I see the commonality here. What was Andy doing behind the scenes there? And then this news came out as well. So think about this. When somebody leaves the team, they're still in school. I mean, obviously, Eric's still in school. He's still going to class, making sure that he's still compliant with NCAA regulations. He's going to transfer at the transfer portal window at the end of the semester. But then you see this news that says he heard that Boise State wide receiver Eric McAllister, currently a former, could be exploring the opportunity of returning to finish out this season. Spencer Danielson just confirmed they've heard the same. It'll be a discussion amongst the staff. And then Jeff Caves, a columnist for Boise State football, he says here the NIL market may have cooled on McAllister, forcing him to rethink his transfer. I know he prefers TCU. He's a Texas guy. But for whatever reason, they are waiting, and maybe Oklahoma disappeared. If Boise State lets him back, it may be with the stipulation he doesn't leave on 12-4. So the back and forth yo-yoing of players, of coaches, of staff, whatever it is, it all culminates to what, and again, I don't know Andy personally. I don't know. This is just a comment on his handling as Boise State as the head coach, but there's a lot of smoke out there that mishandled that, player exodus, people didn't like him in the program. He was at my way or the highway. Whatever it is, it was not working out towards the end there. We've seen this happen with similar programs. I remember back in the day, Jimbo Fisher at Florida State, after they won the national championship, even with that credibility, the players basically said, if he doesn't leave, we leave. Ultimately, they let him go. Now he went, and now he's getting paid a bajillion dollars over the next couple of years from Texas A&M. But we've seen this before at bigger programs. Boise State takes themselves very seriously, and 5-5, and 4-2 in conference play might be good enough for some teams, but for Boise State, it is not acceptable. And one of the big factors behind this team is how unbelievably frustrating they are to watch. So you start off with the schedule here. So at Washington, number 10, down 9 points in the third quarter. There was a fumble. They could have had it. They didn't. Remember, they had the lead in that game at the beginning. It was 6-0. But then they remembered, unfortunately, Washington found out the fact that Boise State can't defend the pass, so they just kept on chucking it downfield for zillions and zillions of yards, lose by 56-19. The very next week, give up 500 yards to UCF, somehow stay in the game, lose on a last-second field goal there. Win against North Dakota, 3-point win at San Diego State. And then the weird, goofy games that there were with Boise State football. I kid you not, there's so many weird ways that this team has they just weren't tightened up in a lot of ways, and they've lost and given up games in just the goofiest of ways. The first one here of the goofiness, again, you lose at Washington to one of the best teams in the country, Michael Penix, potential Heisman Trophy winner. You're absolutely fine there. This game, Boise State visits Memphis, has a pretty good day themselves. However, with them, one of the big factors here, 4th and 1 in the red zone inside the 15-yard line. They're like, okay, we could easily get this. Got a fast quarterback, got a big running back, one of the best running backs in the country, Ashton Jeanty. If you don't know about him, now you know. Decide, okay, let's kick the field goal. Field goal gets blocked, returned for a touchdown. Potentially a 14-point swing, ultimately lose at Memphis 35-32. That's one of them. Going on to the next one is pretty bad too. So this one was just a couple weeks ago, just about 2 weeks ago here at Fresno State. Now I know what you're saying. Okay, well, Fresno State is a good team, and they are. Fantastic team doing very well. But One of the weirder things that happened in the game was just before halftime, go down, get themselves some points, 7 seconds left before halftime, they squib kick it, and guess what the Fresno State kick returner does? Returns it for a touchdown. It literally says it right here. It has a 95-yard kick return for a touchdown with 7 seconds left before the halftime. If he kicks it out of bounds, there's no points. Another goofy situation that happened from this team where it just seems like special teams has absolutely choked the game away in a lot of ways for this team. And the worst of all was this one. So if you don't know Colorado State, I'll let you know right now. Boise State, before this game, had never lost to Colorado State. They were 0-12 versus Boise State. Boise State had a 20-point lead in the fourth quarter. You check this out. You're 30-10 with 6:12 left. In that final 6:12 left, touchdown, touchdown, and touchdown as time expired, including a Hail Mary, including an onside kick that went right through wide receiver Eric McAllister's hands. But it just seems like special teams, tighten up the coaching staff, whatever it was Murphy's Law with his team. Whatever can go wrong will, and it ultimately culminated in these 3 losses here. Now again, the at Fresno State was a tough one that probably should have lost that one too. The at Memphis, and certainly at the Colorado State games there's not very many excuses for those games. And this right here, even with all of that, this is why I say this is one of the most confusing seasons in all of Boise State football. Look at this chart right here. Remember here, they went 1-3 in non-conference play, which means they've gone 4-2 in conference play so far. They've already beaten Wyoming. They've already beaten San Jose State, and they have to play Air Force down the stretch. So thinking about this, there's a small chance. It is a very small chance. But there's a chance here where if UNLV loses to Air Force, and then UNLV loses to San Jose State, 2 pretty good teams, and then Boise State beats Air Force, Boise State would play at Fresno State again after firing their head coach, losing on a Hail Mary, having a losing record in November, and they would be in the conference title game. Like I said, one of the most confusing teams in college football. But again, there's one man right now who's leading the charge for directing this team to where we think this team can be, and it's A.D. Jeremiah Dicki. If you've ever met this guy, he is one of the nicest guys, very, family-loving man, good man, but also at the same time holds this program to account. He has been leading the fundraising efforts exponentially better than I've ever thought could happen at Boise State. Right now, $1 million gift here, $1 million gift there, whatever it is. Apparently, now again, I don't know, this is all speculation, but I know he's been leading the charge with bringing in some money. It sounded like in his interview, when he talked about after the season was done, or after the firing was done, he had a press conference and he basically said, we've got it handled. We're going to have a national search. The buyout is handled. It's not going to affect the next coach's compensation. Jeremiah Dicki is leading this team in the right direction. And also, we potentially have a chance to go to the Mountain West Championship game. So let me see if you guys can ever say this about your college football team. Losing record in November, has an opportunity to break a 25-year streak at having a winning record, still has a chance of being in the conference championship game, fired their head coach, and has a national head coaching search coming up. There's so many weird things. Players have entered the transfer portal. They might actually come back. Coaches were fired. They might be coming back. Coaches are fired here. Coaches are left. It's absolute chaos here. But at the end of the day, that's what college football is a crazy sport, man. You saw that $50 million, something like that Texas A&M gave to Jimbo Fisher to not coach there. I'm telling you right now, this is not that irregular at some of the bigger programs. It's happening at Boise State because expectations are high, and hopefully they come through with it because, man, I want to keep that winning streak alive. All right, guys, you guys get in the comments right now. Tell me if you have any inside information. I have been on Twitter all day long trying to find if you guys got anything, whatever it is. I just want to know more about the program that I care about. But again, you guys get in the comments right now. Let me know what you think about this whole situation. And also remember to like, share, comment, subscribe, do all that stuff. I really appreciate it. So for me, guys, I'll see you guys later. I am out.